He is the biggest thing in solar right now. We're super grateful to have him. He's the founder of Knoxstar University. He's the owner of Tom Hopkins International and one of the greatest salesmen of all time. Here's Taylor.
All right, let's go, let's go. All right, round two, baby, let's go. Really excited to be here with you guys, as you guys will all have workbooks that we're training. And like he said, you know, you gotta be able to tap into this computer up here. We need to stop checking our Facebooks. We need to start facing our checkbooks, because this is the year you guys are gonna make it. This is the year where you're gonna get ahead. This is the year that's gonna set up your kids' lives that you might have or not have. This is the year you're gonna set up your grandkids. We're talking generational wealth. It's about dialing in. And one of the biggest things that I notice is you've got to get on the same page with your support system, whether it's your wife, your husband, your kids, your mom, your dad, and share with them what's going to happen. This is the year you're going to make it. This is the year you're going to set yourself up for years to come. So you guys will hear a little sound. That's going to be a little drone footage happening today. It won't bother me too much. I speak very loud. So we got the energy up before. We're going to get the energy up again. So it's going to go, how's your attitude? And you're going to say positive. I'm going to say, how does that make you feel? You're going to say strong. I'm going to say we are. You're going to say number one. Born to be number one. Shall remain number one. We are. So that's the type of energy we're taking into this entire year, right? Let's go. Let's go. So understand what I'm going to tell you right now. Write this down. Losing is not an option. 5 words. You need to program into the most powerful computer that there is, which is your mind. First comes the action, then comes the motivation. You see, we each have a challenge. The challenge for me is to give you the aha moment and the light bulb. The challenge for you is to program this information into your mind. That's why I said stop checking your Facebook and start facing your checkbook. Because if we can cut out the distractions, if we can get completely myopic on the vision that we want for our lives, you're going to make it. Because this is the year you are going to make it, and it starts with you visualizing and verbalizing the things that you want. So if you open up to the workbooklet, there's these components that make up a sales professional. And I want you to be completely honest with yourself. Be blunt with yourself. And actually look at where you are. But if I went to the outside world and I said, hey, what is a salesperson? What do you think a normal person would say? What do people think of salespeople? Pest. What was it? Pest. A pest. What else? Dishonest. Dishonest. Keep going. Sleazy. Pushy. Liars. Unethical. Now, if I were to ask you what is a salesperson, how would you answer that question? Sexy. Determined. Driven. You see, we should have never, ever, ever been labeled as salespeople. We should have been labeled as servants. Because we are genuinely in the business of serving others. It is one of the most proud professions to be in, but it's also one of the funnest professions that you can be in. You see, the people that have 9-to-5 jobs, they don't have many challenges. They punch in a card, they punch out a card. In sales, you can reach your highest highs or the lowest lows in a 24-hour period. And you have to be proud to do what you do, because 99% of individuals couldn't do what we do. When I was 18 years old, I never had a silver spoon in my mouth, but I remember hearing in an audiobook that decisions would decide my wealth. And I watched my dad get down to his last 20 bucks. He didn't spend a penny on himself, but he'd buy me a pack of baseball cards with the last 20 bucks that he had. And I realized that the decisions that I made throughout my journey would be able to set myself up for my future. And during today's training, what I'm going to teach you is the how-tos behind selling. The nitty-gritty. We're going to play some live footage. We're going to get very interactive. We're going to be going over some role-playing. You know, the next level of teaching sales is actually performing a sale. So for you to be able to see that and have that aha moment, a lot of the time it's the smallest little thing that you need to change with your presentation. Slow it down just a little bit. eliminate the seal talk, which is and ah in between every transition. And once you identify those small little things that you can improve on, it's really going to allow you to get to the next level as far as your game. So everyone can take a couple seconds just to fill out those boxes. You can do it afterwards. This is a workbook that you guys are going to be able to go back to and actually MPDR. You memorize, you practice, you drill, and you rehearse. Now, we're going to have a little bit of a competition because how many of you guys are pretty competitive in here? All right, so you guys are going to get a quiz at the end of this, and we're going to see who can really program this information into their minds. So let's get right into it. The psychology of the profession of selling. Sales is an art and a science. Some say there are no secrets in sales. I completely disagree with that. Your life is like a stock. You're either going to go up or you're going to go down. There's no neutral. Same way that during our presentations, everything we say will help us or hurt us. Now, the way I break this down is the 5 most important things that I do during my presentation. First off is clarity. A confused mind always says no. A confused mind always says no. The mother of all learning is repetition. So your first 2 fill-ins, and we do have a challenge. We're going to work pretty quick through this because I have a lot to cover with you guys. I want to show you some live footage, and then I got a little gift for you here at the end. So if you miss any answers, we'll make the keynotes available to your leaders where you'll be able to get the answers. But clarity, repetition, energy, and if you don't have a work booklet, I believe there's still some in the back. So clarity, repetition, energy. When I was 18 years old, I worked at a company called 2020 Communications. And it's funny because I got into door-to-door selling or direct selling in 2008. Did anybody get involved with door-to-door before 2008? Nice, all right, we got some veterans in here. But you do the math, right? And this gentleman right here is 17 years old. He was 1 year old when I started to knock. He wasn't even born when he started. So, you know, you're taking a big shortcut. By the time you're our age, you got to be inviting us on your yacht. That's the deal. So, clarity, repetition, energy. Write this down. Enthusiasm is the spirit you have within, and enthusiasm is 51% of the sales presentation. More than 50% of your presentation is the enthusiasm or the spirit that you have within. Number 4 is belief. The top sales professionals shine with something they call conviction. They have an absolute catching belief about themselves, their product, and their service. And the last one is service. Like I said, we should have been called servants at the beginning. If you can focus on these 5 fundamentals while you're knocking or closing, being very clear, people react to the range of your voice, the volume, the pace, and the diction, even when they don't understand the words. So a lot of the time it's not what I say, it's not how I say it, it's how I can make that family that I serve feel. And that's what will lead to having an effective sales process or presentation. Clarity, repetition, energy, belief, and service. Like I said, we are going to work pretty quick, so if you do miss in a blank, don't worry about it, and we'll get it all at the end to you. So core tenets of success for a successful career in selling starts with your skills and your abilities. You're going to be paid in direct proportion to your skills and abilities and how you can actually develop that. And the way that you develop your skills and abilities is you turn this from being a job and you make it into a lifestyle. I have never ever worked. I've just played a sport and I've been a professional trick-or-treater and I've exercised and I make friends with people. It's the things that we think in our mindset. I shared with a lot of the leaders earlier, there's one secret ingredient to this whole thing. And it's simple, but this is what's going to last for longevity for you. Maintaining, and this is something I would definitely program into your minds, maintaining anything will become exhausting. Building is energizing. You guys are in building mode right now. Whenever I came to an event like this, it would make me want to work so hard for that company and go above and beyond for them. The secret ingredient to building, to be energized, is having fun. That's it. If you're not having fun, it's not worth it. You got to figure out a way to have fun with this. Make friends, exercise, go trick-or-treating. Hey, that's a $5,000 lottery ticket. All I got to do is talk correctly and I'm going to win. It's the way that we think about what we do. Because we are going to have those challenges. We are going to have those 24 hours where we reach our highest highs or our lowest lows. You have to maintain that even keel, not allow the highs to get too high or the lows to get too low. How many of you ever let your highs go too high or your lows get too low and you made an emotional decision? Right? It's very hard to stay on that even keel, but there's shortcuts. He who angers you controls you. When I'm ready to get upset, I say, nope, you're not going to win. You're not going to control me. God bless you. Have a nice day. On to the next one. Some do, some don't, so what? Some people get it, some people don't. I don't pay the electric bill. I have a demeanor that I have the competitive advantage every time. If they want to get involved with the program, great. If they don't, this is a service. This isn't a sales process. So skills and ability, the culture, write this one down. Do business with people you want to do life with. Do business with people you want to do life with. People don't quit companies, they quit leadership. You want to be around the people that are going to help you become the best version of yourself, because that's the business we're in, the people business. The skills and abilities lead to the development, and the development leads to the mentality. How do you envision yourself? A salesman is first off a man that can sell himself to himself. What do I mean by that? A salesman is first off a man that can sell himself to himself. He has an absolute belief about himself. Who's your favorite boxer? Somebody name me somebody. Manny Pacquiao. How does Manny Pacquiao look at himself when he walks into the ring? He's a winner. He knows he's going to win before the fight starts. The problem with that statement is too many people are focusing what they're doing wrong when they need to start focusing on the things they do right. If you're constantly beating yourself up, you're literally paralyzed by motivators and demotivators. People are suffering from self-doubt while others are intimidated by your full potential. What does your full potential look like? It's you being fully committed for 2-3 years and this opportunity you have and setting up the next 35 years of your life. It's putting your head down, becoming completely myopic, cutting out the distractions. How many of you guys made to-do lists before? These are the things I need to do. You know what a lot of people need to start doing is making not to-do lists. These are the things that are holding me back from getting me to where I need to go. Success comes from two things. Grit, get ready, it's tough, and desire. You have that ardent, deep down desire of why you're here and who you're doing it for. And then how do we define success? This was taught to me by my mentor. By a show of hands, how many of you guys have ever heard of Tom Hopkins? He wrote the book, How to Master the Art of Selling. How many of you guys have ever read How to Master the Art of Selling? Okay, that's like the Bible for sales. And the reason why I resonated so much with Tom throughout my 16 years in the direct sales space is because he teaches the how-tos, the meat and potatoes. The reason there's so much mediocrity is people only know 1 or 2 ways to close a sale, or when they hear not interested, they only have one way to handle it. If you have 45 different ways to handle something, and you have different things to show them, makes your job a lot easier. That's the reason there's so much mediocrity, is because people don't want to go into the weight room. It's the same way that an athlete goes into the weight room. Same way that every practicing professional needs to spend years to become the professional. You are the professional right now. You have a professional contract sitting right in front of you. You have the ability to write your own paycheck every single day. You can say, hey, I'm going to put my last name on my back and make it happen. That decisions that you make will decide your wealth. It's all worth it. There's times where I struggled with imbalance. I used to sleep in my shirt and badge. I was emotionally unavailable. I didn't talk to women. I didn't have any friends. All I did was look at the scoreboard and I questioned myself. But it's all worth it, because that's how you're going to get yourself ahead. I'm going to balance it all out, trust me, but I'm going to do it later in my life. This is building season. There's a long way that I need to go. There's a long way that you guys need to go. But if you can have that myopic vision, that's how you're going to get there. Success is defined as the continuous journey toward the achievement of predetermined worthwhile goals. And if we really break that sentence down to the ridiculous, the continuous journey, meaning like our life is like a stock, we're working towards the achievement. It's not setting goals that's important, it's the achievement of them that matters. Predetermined, meaning that they have to be in writing and that they're worthwhile. Because if your ardent desire is strong enough and you have a deep enough why, or more importantly, a deep enough who, that's what's going to lead to the discipline. So my main objective when I'm selling, especially knocking doors, is I need to create curiosity. The biggest way for me to explain this to you when we sell solar, how many of you guys have ever had a pebble in your shoe and started walking? You guys have had a pebble in your shoe before, right? And you're like, I'm just going to keep walking with the pebble in my shoe because it's not that big of a deal, because I don't feel like untying my shoe, dumping out the shoe, and then putting my shoe back on and retying it. That's what's happening right now to all the families that pay an electric bill that are donating their money to the utility company. The utility companies are corrupt, and if you don't think the utility companies are corrupt, you need to continue training. Because once you understand how corrupt these utility companies are, and that they're just seizing money out of people's bank accounts and they have no other option but to retreat back to the utility company, that's what's happening right now. I need to create curiosity. And if that pebble in the shoe turns into a little shard of glass in their shoe, what's going to happen? They're taking the shoe off, they're dumping out the piece of glass, and they're putting their shoe on before they take one more step. Because if they take one more step with a glass shard in their shoe, they're gonna get hurt. And that's the deal, is people don't think it's that big of a deal because they keep walking around with a pebble in their shoe with a $100 electric bill. But it's our job to create the decision. You are not order takers. You know, I was sharing with the individuals earlier the levels of a salesman, and back in the 1930s and 40s, you know, the Stone Cold Trappers, right? The Tegan Judds, the Alex Winters, the Ed Schofields. Those are the Stone Cold Trappers. Those are the ones at the very top. That's what they used to label the highest level of a sales professional, is a Stone Cold Trapper. Under a Stone Cold Trapper, master closer, the king or queen of selling, the closer, the dealsman, the salesman, the order taker. Has anybody ever heard of an order taker, like a low-level salesperson? The lowest level underneath that was, they used to call them tour guides. You're just going out to the neighborhood to give away a free tour. So you're going to be the tour guide, or you're going to be the Stone Cold Trapper? When I create curiosity, I do that by being likable and making it make sense. Being likable. I talk to them the same way that they'd want to be talked to. You have to be authentic. If you're synthetic, trying to stick a sales line, there's really only one objection that we face in the field of selling. Who knows what that is? Trust, right? It's like having a cell phone with no service. All you can really do is play games. Not here to play games, so level with me. How much of what I said do you actually believe? Once you isolate that major concern or major objection, which a lot of the time, it's either going to make sense or it's going to sound way too good to be true. And you've got to bring up these things, and we're going to talk more about that with the psychology of no. The psychology of no. Confused mind always says no. If they're not curious, they're not interested. When I define closing, I define it as the sincere desire to serve, helping to make decisions that are truly good for them, resulting in a win-win final solution. So that's how I would define closing. It's sincere desire to actually serve people, waking up and saying, dude, I'm going to really try to help somebody today. What I'm really doing is I'm setting up franchises for the next 25 years, bare minimum. I am not fist pumping when I close the final contract. I'm fist pumping when I PTO. And then I'm setting up that franchise. See, when I set up an appointment, the first thing I have them do is I say, can you send me a quick thumbs up emoji so that I know that you got that text? Why would I have them send me an emoji? Text me an emoji. They're viewed as my friend. What happens if you were on an emoji text message relationships with the families you served? What's going to happen? You're going to create a lot more business that way too. And you're going to really give people way more than they expect, and being able to give them something called a PFX, perfect family experience. So sincere desire to serve, helping to make decisions that are truly good for them, resulting in a win-win final solution. The process is not to the people we help, the process is for the people we help. Sometimes as the professional, we have to look at ourselves like an assistant buyer. I'm helping them make this decision. I'm almost leading them, taking their hand. I'm asking them questions. I'm controlling the entire process, but I make them feel like they have control the entire time. And I do that through questions. Questions are the answer. I'm asking them loaded questions, and then I'm like a police officer. Anything that they say will be held against them. Right? So they start telling them how it would provide them with peace of mind, or the fact that they hate the utility company, or they're sick and tired of getting nickel and dime. Wait a second, do you remember getting a turquoise coupon with the electric bill that allowed them to raise your rates, or did they just start doing that to you without telling you? Oh no, we never got a turquoise coupon. Are you sure? Okay? And when I show you some of the ammunition that I'm setting you guys up with here at the end, I'm going to give you more of those one-liners, how you can utilize it in certain situations. We help them rationalize the decisions. People buy emotionally, and they defend the decision with logic. One of the lines I like to use in the field, sir, we can take all the emotion out of this. This is something logical, and if it was logical, it would be something you would do, wouldn't you? Right? That's called a tie down at the end. An inverted tie down is if I would have taken the tie down at the end and put it at the beginning. Wouldn't it make sense if we took all the emotion out of this and this was something 1,000% logical, it would be something you would do? See how I took the wouldn't it, couldn't it, didn't it, shouldn't it? I can put it at the beginning as an inverted tie down, or I can take that at the end. A tie down is a question at the end of a sentence that demands a yes. And this is the little things that people don't train on, and then they wonder why they're knocking 100 doors to get 2 bills. I don't think I've ever knocked 100 doors in my life in a day. You know, so when I see people like, I knocked 156 doors, and people are like, nice, bro. I'm like, no, that's not, what you want to do is knock 5 doors, get 3 bills in 2 same days. Right? And then you're in houses all day, and then the next thing you know, it's 7 o'clock at night, and you didn't even work because you were going through transactions with families the entire day. So these are the 12 most important nuggets. I really thought about it. In roofing, I did 114 accounts in 11 days. In solar, I did 43 loans in 28 days, traveling between 20 different markets, and then 45 alarm systems in 6 days. And these nuggets are probably the most important shortcut that I'm going to give you right here. Next to the word success is sacrifice. There's a lot of sacrifice. It is exhausting to be great. I'm not saying that I'm great, but what I am saying is that you've got to expect to be exhausted. You've got to expect that. Grind, get ready, it's a new day. Grit, get ready, it's tough. First comes the action, then comes the motivation. Number 3, I told you, what was the secret ingredient to building? You have to have fun. The harder that I worked, the luckier that I got. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm Irish and I just happen to go to the lucky neighborhoods and I find the lucky laydowns. But the harder that I worked, the luckier that I got. We get energy from the word yes. I'm on this blitz when I was traveling and I was going city to city, and one day I was completely exhausted. I'm like, I'm tired. It's 7:30. There are like 4 more people coming with you. I got 5 same days sets with bills right in a wet row. It's 9:30 at night. I had more energy at that time than I had the entire blitz. I got my energy from when people say yes. It's like Mario in the game picking up a mushroom, grows bigger. Same thing for me. I get the yes. That's what's creating the energy for me. This was taught to me by Tom. The next level of teaching a sale is performing a sale. That's why I'm taking all the raw footage, and you guys are going to have access to that within the Knockstar platform, where you guys can not only be trained on the psychology, the medicine cabinet, different things that help you, but if you want to watch a very analytical buyer that tells me he's not making any sort of decisions today, and then I soft close him 19 times, I'm up in his attic taking pictures, I'm in the back of his home using a secondary question close, and by the end of it, he's okaying all the forms. It's because I created the decision. That's it. Sales are easy. All it really is a transference of trust. That's what sales is. A lot of people say it's a transference of energy. It is, but it's a transference of trust. They could say, what happens if I move in 7 years? And I could say, don't worry, call me. That's a good enough answer if they trust you. You don't need some magical sales line. And keep in mind, you cannot reflex any sort of ideas. You have to reflex the actual words. In Hollywood, when they're going to be actors, what does an actor have to memorize what he needs to say? A script. And they read that script over and over. They MPDR. They memorize, they practice, they drill rehearse, and then it becomes a natural part of them. We get better or worse. There's no neutral. Every single day you're improving or you're not improving. Currency is relationships. Money comes and goes. But like I said before, you do business with people you want to do life with. Temporary imbalance is how we're going to get ahead. And then you have to personalize the situation to the location. First place I went was El Paso, Texas. I Googled El Paso, Texas Electric Company. I found out El Paso Electric was purchased by J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan Chase bought El Paso Electric for $4.3 billion. They released their profit report year one, which was $146.2 million, and they announced that they want another $46 million in surcharges. Now I've got ammunition when I went to El Paso. Sir, it is serious. We're not trying to come down on anybody. However, it is important. I don't know if you knew kind of what happened with Chase, the bank. They bought the electric company for $4.3 billion, and they just released their profit margin of almost $150 million, which was an 87% increase from the previous regime. I'm using glamour words to build excitement. I'm creating a pain. If there is no pain, there will never be a change. If there's a pebble in their shoe, someone's getting sold. If I can't turn it into a glass shard, they're transitioning me back onto the street. It just comes down to whose belief is stronger. There's nothing fake about it. It's just I have a competitive advantage. I am not selling for the utility company trying to convince people to rip off their solar and go back to paying more. So understand that you have a competitive advantage when you go out there, personalize the situation to location, play a game, figure out a way to treat this into a big game, and then you need to pay attention to the scoreboard. Right? I guarantee you Alex Winters was looking at the scoreboard all January. Right? No one has an excuse because he's in 23-degree weather and he's setting and closing his own deals. Right? So he's out there leading the company in sets and leading the company in closes. Too many people are interested when they need to be committed. Too many people are the warning when they need to be the example. Too many people are spectating when they need to actually be the participant. Right? Alex understands losing is not an option. He's on the throne right now. Somebody's going to need to take the crown off his head. Who's it going to be? Who's going to be the one that visualizes what they want and verbalizes and says, hey, I'm going to be the #1 solar professional in this room, in this company. In 2011, I had long hair, just broke my collarbone in Argentina, and I walk in, I had a shaggin' wagon. It was a Subaru Outback from like 1994, and these kids had BMW M3s, M5s, fancy cars. I moved from New Hampshire to Tampa, and I go into this movie theater, and it was I never sold alarms, and I was just like, I'm gonna smash all these guys. I'm gonna beat all of them. There's kids from Utah that have been knocking for 4 years, that have been on missions. I'm just a kid from Boston. I'm going to win. You know why? Because I got a stronger who. My dad has always had health conditions. I watched him struggle. I said, hey, I'm going to make him proud. There's going to be a big year-end party in Utah. I'm going to have my dad flown out there. I'm going to buy my first suit. And it was about my who. And that's what's going to be able to keep the fire, the ardent fire, from burning out. So these are the 12 most golden nuggets that I learned while on the road and actually being able to share with you. So we're gonna move fast because I know that we are crunched with time, and we're gonna go till roughly about 5 p.m., but I do have a lot that I wanna cover with you guys. So these are the 5 steps to being able to learn something. This is very important. When I first learned this training, it went in one ear and out the other one. As I've constantly trained with the material, I've realized how important this is, because not only are you learning today, but when you go to explain solar, what are you doing? It starts with a T. You're either learning or you're teaching, right? You're teaching solar to the families that you serve. And the first step to being able to teach anything is having impact. It's being aware and alert. You see, if you were checking your text messages, you're not going to pick this up. You have to consciously hear, read, write, and say. If I'm just talking at them, it's going in one ear, it's going out the other one. When they hear and read it, and then I get them to start talking, or even if I can get them to write down the reasons why this is going to make sense. I was in a close in the beginning of January, and I had a situation where I really needed to build the value more. And I said, seeing it being a privilege for our company to actually pick your home, what would you say are the top 3 reasons why we should pick your home? And there was silence for about a minute, and then she picked up the pen and she wrote, because I'm sick and tired of the utility company raising my rates. I've lived here for 12 years. Now she's writing it down in her own handwriting why it makes sense for her to do this. Hear, read, write, and say. Second step is repetition. The mother of all learning. You must hear, write, read, and say something 6 times to gain 62% of the retention. You need to hear, read, write, and say something 6 times to gain 62% of the retention. Step 3, utilization. Consciously making myself use the techniques. When you utilize something, step 4 is going to be internalization. When you internalize something, then it will become a natural part of me. So the first step is we have impact. The second step is we repeat. The third step is we utilize. The fourth step is we internalize, so it becomes a natural part of us. And the fifth step is reinforcement. Practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Who said that? Vince Lombardi. Message me your address. I'm going to hook you up with a Knockstar hoodie for that one. You guys are going to have competition, so if I ask you a question, be ready. Message me your address, get a Knockstar hoodie for that. Practice does not make perfect. Only perfect practice makes perfect. Step 5, reinforce. We get better or worse. There's no neutral. And those are the 5 steps of being able to learn or teach anything. All right, let's keep it moving. 5 steps in the learning process. I'm going to go through it pretty quick. Practice is what's going to lead to you having certainty. Whether you've only done solar for 2 weeks or you've done it for 2 years. Practice leads to certainty. The certainty will lead to your confidence. The confidence is going to lead to your results. The results is going to lead to your growth. The growth is going to lead to who you become. No neutral. You get better better or worse, and I do not tie my success to the amount of sales that I get. I never have. Because guess what? You can go out there and get 3 sales in a day and fist pump, and all 3 of them can cancel. So you're fist pumping in the club for nothing. What I do tie my success to is effort and input. That's it. I'm just going to give them my best effort and input every single day. There's so much things that's out of our control. What's the hardest part of door-to-door sales? What do you think? It's like, starts with a T. Timing. I don't know if I'm going to walk left. I don't know if I'm going to walk right. Timing. It's the hardest part of our job as a sales professional. So psychology of yes. You are the representation for the way the buyer feels about your product and service. I have to be genuine, real, and find commonality. It's not what I say. It's how I say it. It's not how I say it. It's how I make them feel. If they buy you, they will most likely buy your product. If they're confused or don't like you, they're going to barely purchase. So you, psychology of yes. Second is E for energy. Prospects say yes based more on your attitude, belief, and conviction than product knowledge and technical skills. Excitement and enthusiasm are contagious. When is a salesperson more contagious than any other time? Right after he gets a sale, right? But there's too many novices out there that get a sale and they're like, nice, I got a sale, let's go home. Self-talk and affirmation. The communication that you have with yourself is going to lead you to be contagious throughout the entire day. I don't know if it's 5 p.m. Gavin, who does all the edits, let's give it up for Gavin because he edits all these YouTube videos and I know it provides a lot of entertainment for you guys. And he puts a lot of work into it too, you know, to be able to create something that's enjoyable for everybody. But, you know, the biggest thing is being able to have the skills and the communication to create that and to be contagious throughout the time that we're out there. Lastly is service, by genuinely trying to help others, not being needy. That's what's going to lower the buyer's sales resistance. What is the greatest enemy? The greatest enemy is the client's, starts with an F, fear. The greatest enemy is the client's fear. So what do I need to do? I need to help them relax throughout the process. Because people don't want to make the wrong decision. People want to avoid making the wrong decision and be ensured that they're making the right decision. So you, energy, service, psychology, yes. PCX, perfect customer experience. Seldom do people buy logically. They buy emotionally and they then defend the decision with logic. So logically, emotionally, and then logic. Okay. You will never ever sell anybody anything unless emotionally they decide that they want it. What do you think are some reasons why people buy? The neighbors are doing that. Peer pressure, status, good. Save money, okay. Family. What are some reasons people buy? Benefits, they trust. Solves a problem. Good. People buy because of style. People buy because of self-image. People buy because of things that they could improve. Number 2, they need it. Number 3, they want to own something. They want the pride of ownership. Security, keeping up with the Joneses, and then peer pressure and status. These are some of the reasons why people buy. However, people don't want to buy things. What do they want to do? They want to own. People don't want to buy, people want to own. Emotions can trigger the sale, but emotions can also destroy the sale. You can destroy a sale just as rapidly as you can create it. Every word creates images in your mind. Really, all I do is I help them think the way that I think. I'm teleporting my energy out of my body and getting them to think the way that I think through my words, my body language, my voice inflection, my tonality, the range, the volume, the pace, the diction, how I pronunciate every single one of the sounds that I make. So I could like stop in the middle of a presentation and say, here's the deal, Mary. As long as, you know, we can keep this between, you know, like me, you, and the lampshade. Yeah, right? And I've got positive buyer stimulus from her. Champion realized from the moment they meet a person, they must eliminate this fear. And that fear is what's stopping people, because people want to avoid making the wrong decision and be ensured that they're making the right decision. Okay, let's keep moving. We got a lot to cover. Psychology of no. Number 1, confusion. A confused mind always says no. Don't worry if you're missing some of these fill-ins. I'm going to make sure that you guys get them. 2 is lingering questions. This is a huge reason why people say no. A lot of the time they're not going to come out and tell you. Or I don't want them to say, oh, well, I'm moving. I want to bring it up beforehand. Right? That's why we have a slick, the 6 main questions slick. What happens to my roof? What if I move? Bottom line, what's the cost? Who services it? When do I start saving money? And then who owns this thing? As far as the roof, it keeps the house a lot cooler in the summer. If you guys move, it transfers over just like APS does. The cost, you're already paying for it. What people don't understand is if I cannot take the money that you donate to the utility company or the money that you throw away into the trash can and utilize that to fund the project, we are not a good fit for you. So you're already paying for the solar. We would just redirect, divert, or shift the money that you throw away and put it into a piggy bank. As far as service, we're on the hook for 25 years, but keep in mind, we need to actually get it approved from our structural department, the utility company, and then one of the biggest reasons why you would be disallowed or not be able to participate in this program is shading. Now, what percentage of your roof is covered with shade? Even if there's not a tree within a mile from their house, I always ask that question. Oh no, nothing, we're good, yeah, on that. And then lastly is savings. What you have to realize is people are not going solar to save 25 bucks a month so they can run to Applebee's and order a chicken tender plate or fill their F-150 with a quarter tank of gas, sir. People are doing this because they want complete independence from the utility company. People are kind of putting one and one together, and they realize the utility companies is straight up nickel and diming us, and people are just done. Because I think we can both agree if you guys move, they're not going to give you any of that money back. Right? So instead of actually just donating or tipping the utility company every month, you're now starting to pay yourself. It's kind of like if I had a roll of duct tape in my pocket and I was to duct tape two $100 bills to your kitchen table, and I told you the one on the left you needed to put with your utility bill and give them a tip and say thank you for the service, or the one on the right you go on a shopping spree and whatever you bought you could own. Would you rather own something, or would you rather just tip your utility company every month? See, this is combinations. A combination to find the excuse for them to say yes. The buyer has every obligatory right to tell us no until we give the excuse for them to say yes. When they say no, that's when my job starts. No, not interested. No, not interested. You know, when I first started selling in 2008, there was a kid in the office. He didn't even listen to the objection. He had the same rebuttal every time. And it was, yeah, that's the thing, and then he would just keep going. They'd give him another, yeah, that's the thing, and then he would just keep going. Because these were smoke screens. They weren't actually a valid reason. Number 3 is an inadequate explanation of benefits. That's why we have the 10 pillars of reasons that people go solar. People do not buy because they understand what you're telling them. People buy because they feel understood. Different buyers require different amounts of information. Different buyers need to be communicated in different ways. If it's a 75-year-old woman, oh, hi, ma'am, how are you? Hey, my name is Taylor McCarthy. Or if a guy that's pissed off that enters his door because I had him hit him with the triple ring, and he comes out like, what the heck is going on? Yes, sorry, I'm late, sir. We did want to do about 2 more. Yeah, you guys were supposed to be done on Thursday. Yeah, it's easier for show you. And they're like, what the heck is going on? Because I need to mirror, I need to match. I need to help make them like me, trust me, make it make sense. 4th reason behind psychology of no is timing. An objection is a tactic used by the buyer to stall or prolong the final decision. Same way that I say, hey, I'm going to cut to the chase and give you the short version. Or, hey, the reason I'm coming by is like a little bit different. Or, I don't know if you knew. Or, it is serious. We're not trying to come down on anybody. However, it is important. These are tactics or technique. Technique is the words that come out of your mouth. Technique is the thing that you want to develop if you really want to raise your income. Right? Once you start earning $500,000, $600,000 a year or more, think about all the people that you're going to be able to help in your life. Dude, when I was 18 years old, I worked for a company called 2020 Communications, and I bought my dad an HD TV on Father's Day, and I was on the front page of the newsletter. And I was like, holy crap, I bought my dad an HD TV. Right? Now I bought my dad a house. We've always lived in an apartment my whole life. This is going to be very blunt, but a lot of you are being selfish if you don't give it everything you have this year. Because the people around you that you love, your tribe, which is your family first and foremost, a lot of them don't have an opportunity like this. where you can put your last name on your back and say, hey, I'm worth X amount of thousands of dollars a day, and I'm going to go prove that. Hey, I'm worth $1 million this year. I'm going to go out and prove that. But I can't want it. Your manager can't want it more than you want it. That's your decision to make. And the conversations that you have with yourself are the most important, because this is the opportunity that can set up the next 20 years of your life. You could literally go out and push as hard as you could this year and set yourself up for financial freedom. And what you're really buying is time. You're setting up your future right now. If you decide not to do this, you are procrastinating. And the definition of procrastinating is ruining your future, avoiding the present, and living in the past. Ruining your future, avoiding the present, living in the past. Procrastination is ruining your future, avoiding the present, and living in the past. Okay, now that you know the definition of procrastinating, ask yourself, am I doing the most productive thing possible at every given moment? That's a question I ask myself. Is this the most productive thing possible I can be doing? No, it isn't. Time to pivot. Do what you fear most and always give people way more than they expect. Hidden questions. A lot of the time they lie, right? Some do, some don't, so what? A lot of the time they lie about even being the homeowner. So are you the homeowner? No? Okay, cool. We just wanted to make sure the homeowner was paid properly. Are you the homeowner? Oh yeah, I am the homeowner. Right? It's just you've got to be able to learn all these different ways to be able to navigate the excuse for them to say yes. More discovery, right? I have to focus on clarity, repetition. If I say it once, how many times have you went through your presentation and they're like, sorry man, I just can't afford this right now. Right? It's like, dude, I said it like 4 times. Well, you probably should have said it 7. I don't have a complicated presentation. I literally say the same thing over and over 5 different ways until they get what I'm saying. And the last reason is no, not you. Right? It may be the perfect situation. There's been so many times where it's not like everybody I talk to goes solar. There's plenty of people that tell me no. But you know what I do? I push them further along. I've had some people where I'm like, wow, that was pretty cool. He was completely not interested, and by the end of it, I almost got him. Well, I'm going to use that as momentum to the next door. And I'm going to focus on the things I did right. I'm not going to sit there and hang my head. I'm going to clench my teeth and say, let's go, it's game time. Technique. What is technique in door-to-door sales? It is the words that come out of your mouth. That is what technique is. If your tactics are sound, they can't fight you. They can't fight you. A lot of the times when you see your leaders or the top sales professionals, like Alex, like Tegan, like Josh, some of these individuals that can go through a sale without any objection, and you're like, oh yeah, that was easy. That was a laydown sale. Well, no, it's because they created the laydown. Right? Because their tactics were sound, because they memorized, practiced, drilled, rehearsed, and their presentation was a reflex. Okay? So next thing we're going to talk about is effective questioning, and I'm going to need a volunteer. I'm going to need a volunteer somebody to come up here. Who's going to be my volunteer? You coming up here? All right, cool. Well, let me ask you, have you ever played cards before? No. You've never played cards? Okay.
Like what type of cards?
Any kind of cards.
Yeah.
You've played cards. Like, all right, come on up here. We're gonna go with this. All right, so I'm going to show you guys something, and I'm going to give you an example of how effective questioning works. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to, without looking at it, I want you to pick one of these cards. Any one of the cards, but don't look. All right, so can everybody see that card? Okay, everyone sees it. Okay, so we're going to put it back on the deck. You did not see that card, correct?
No.
Okay. So let me ask you, have you ever played cards before?
Yeah.
Have you ever played poker?
No.
You haven't, okay. And if I'm not mistaken, how many cards are there in a deck?
52.
There is, okay, 52 cards in a deck. And there's different colors in the deck. Do you know what colors those are?
Red, black, red and black.
Red and black, exactly, okay. And the red would consist of the diamonds and the hearts, and the black would consist of the clubs and the spades. If you were to pick between the red or the black, which would you choose?
The red.
The red, okay, that's a good choice. And the red would leave you with two different colors, which would be the hearts, and then you would also be left with the diamonds. Now, if you were to pick between the hearts or the diamonds, which would you choose?
The hearts.
The hearts, and that would leave you with one only remaining option, which would be the diamonds, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you were left with the diamonds, there's two different numbers. There's like the numbered cards, and then there's, I forget what they're called, the face cards, that's what it is. So there's number cards and there's face cards. If you were to pick between the face cards and the numbers, which would you choose?
Face cards.
Which would leave you with just the numbers remaining.
Yeah.
Now, do you like the low numbers or do you like the high numbers?
High.
High numbers, okay, that's a good choice. And if you were to define 7, 8, 9, and 10 being the high numbers, and obviously you were left with the diamonds, if you were to pick two between the 7, 8, 9, and 10, which would you choose?
8 and 10.
8 and 10, good choices. So you have the 8 or the 10 of diamonds. Out of those two, which would you choose?
The 8.
Which would leave you with one remaining card, and what would that be?
The 10.
Of diamonds, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the card that I showed you guys? The 10 of diamonds. So the example of this is how to use, it's not a magic trick, it's effective questioning. I took his hand and I led him to the answer that I needed him to get to. He made the decision though, not me. I just led him in the direction that he needed to go. Thanks for your help, man.
Thank you.
So that's effective questioning, and that was something taught to me by Tom. And you know, once you can understand how to utilize effective questioning, you know, the idea is it's not magic. It's just I'm creating the decision, and that's what we call closing. If you can't create the decision, that's when buyers say no. Something called a circle of persuasion. If you watch a lot of my YouTube videos, that's how I do sales. As I go from building rapport to going into benefits to back into rapport to benefits to rapport to benefits, back to rapport to benefits, and then I work myself closer to the work to yes. I'm like, I got like Franco Harris in the backfield, and I'm handing him the ball, and he's just doing 3-yard gains every single time, and I'm running out the clock on the other team, and I'm working myself closer to the end zone. So a champion will listen twice as much as he or she talks. They listen. Like I said, people do not buy because they understand what you're selling. They buy because they feel understood. If I tell them things, they tend to doubt it. Right questions, they will believe it. If they say it, it's true. So if I can get them to talk about all the reasons why this would make sense in their situation, that's how we can really create the ultimate decision. A champion will lead people with questions. I cannot lead people to a decision until I make it. I am the assistant buyer. I am also a decision maker in this process. I ask them questions they can answer. If your tactics are sound, they can't fight you. With questions, you are in absolute control. It's my obligation to make this decision. So I'll give you a second to fill these in. If you are in absolute control, it is my obligation to make the decision. I can tell these guys right the fastest right here because they're the closest. When did you graduate high school?
I graduated this year.
He just graduated this year, so he's good with his note-taking right here. These kids are going a mile a minute. So, effective questioning. These are the reasons why we ask questions. We ask questions to gain control, to isolate areas of interest, to acknowledge a fact, to receive minor agreements, to arouse and control emotions, to isolate the objections, and then to answer objections. Okay, let's go into the nasty words. So, the greatest enemy is the client's fear. So, our vocabulary can help remind them of bad past selling experiences or put them into a situation. Nasty words, glamour word. A glamour word is a commonly known word that's uncommonly used. Decentralized, unparalleled, seize. You know, people are sick and tired of allowing the utility company to seize money out of their bank account. And you know, we had no other option but retreat back to them, even with these ridiculous fees. Seize, retreat, those are glamour words. What do we want to say instead of the cost or the price? Anybody? The total investment or the total amount. What do we want to say instead of down payment? The initial investment or the initial amount. Instead of monthly payment, the monthly investment or the monthly amount. Right? The total amount, the total investment. Sounds a lot better than saying, you know, your monthly payment. Right? The fixed investment, the fixed amount. What do we want to say instead of contract? Forms, that's one. Agreement, that's the other one. Paperwork. Agreement, forms, and paperwork. Fill in all three of those. I think I only put two, but agreement, paperwork, or forms. All right, let's go. People do not want to buy, they want to own. Seller sold. If no one wants to get sold, we want to get them involved. I've been able to get a lot of families involved with this program, or I've been able to help them acquire. Right? A lot of families have been wanting to get involved with this specific program because of the fact that they really had no other option, because the utility company just continues to kind of like have us in handcuffs, and all these rate increases are getting a little ridiculous. Objections. What do we want to say instead of objections? They don't have an objection, they have a concern. Area of concern or concerns. People don't want to sign. What do we want to say instead of sign? Okay. Authorize, okay, approve, or endorse. I literally had a lady, she goes, I'm not signing any sort of contracts today. I said, that's perfectly fine, miss, but what we do need to do is okay these forms. And that's what will allow us to get to the next step, where you put into the back of the line. We can work our way to the front, and then once we're ready to install, then we'll set up a date. After it's installed, I promise I'm not going up on a ladder. I'm scared of going on the roof, but we do need to okay these forms to that. Okay. 5 seconds later. She wasn't cool with signing the contract, but she'd okay the forms. You know, it's the words that are costing you a lot of money out there, or making you a lot of money. Deal. Instead of deal, we want to say the opportunity. Or transaction. The opportunity of the transaction instead of deal. Nasty P word. By a show of hands, who wants to play the game? This is how the game works. If you use the P word, unless you're referring to a baseball throw, an angle of a roof, or a soccer field in Europe, you have to do 10 push-ups if you're around me. Who wants to play? Couple players? All right, we got some players. So if you use that nasty P word, you owe 10 push-ups. That's how it works. Instead of that nasty P word, what do we want to say? Presentation. Present or presentation. What about customer? What do we want to say instead of customer? Good. So the families or the people we serve or the companies we serve. Nobody wants to be a customer, but hey, I have a few customers. Hey, some of the families that we've been able to get involved with this program are now redirecting or shifting away from the mercy of the power company. What was the main reason you picked APS in the first place? Of course. Number 12, appointment. What do people do with appointments? They cancel appointments. So we want to say pop by and visit. Hey, I'm actually going to be, do you know where Gerald Avenue is? Oh yeah, that one right there. So I'm going to be with the Rodriguez family at 5. I'll have your design done a little bit before then, but I'm going to be a little bit busy. What I could do is I could pop by at like 5:45, like 6 o'clock. Would that work for you? Okay, cool. So what I'll do is I'll show you two things, exactly where the panels would be laid out, what your bill would have been last month if you would have already had solar. Now this is some of my ammunition I'm going to show you right here. This is the form that I leave with every single one of the families, whether I'm setting or whether I'm closing. A lot of my work is done self-generated, so I knock it and I close it. Earlier in January, I went on a 6-day blitz and ended up having 18 sales on cameras. 2 of those were from setters and the other 16 were self-generated. But I was not knocking every door, I was hunting. 5 or 6 of those houses, I just pulled right up into the driveway. I was like, this is a sale. They get crushed in sun. Pull up into the driveway, honk, honk. get out of the car. Timid salesmen have skinny kids, right? I'm there for a reason. All I do, my process is not complicated. I fill out this side. I show them what they have for their current situation. I turn the pebble into a shoe into a glass shard. I go over these questions that will determine whether or not I will pick their home. They start selling themselves through this entire process. I explain to them, for us to be able to exempt them from paying all the ridiculous upfront costs that's associated with going solar, they have to help me out with these 4 things. And then I have all my takeaways at the bottom. I've got the 9, 10 pillars of reasons people go solar. I've got the hypothetical question. If they already had it, what would I need to say to rip it off? And then I have all this. Like, dude, you're going to eventually read the fine print, so I'm just going to bring it up right now. If involved with this project, we reserve the right to disqualify this location due to shading, structure, and/or permitting. The utility company reserves the right to disqualify due to your current infrastructure. If you are not included with the selection process, you will remain with current utility provider. Right? It's not always, oh, these are all the benefits, these are all the benefits. I have a lot of things that I keep in my back pocket when I need it. Right? If I need a grenade in my back pocket, I can use it. I'm not just giving them everything at the very beginning. I'm utilizing a ton of takeaways, a lot of tie downs. Instead of commission, what do we want to say? A fee for the service. Cheaper. People don't want cheaper, they want close. Close. People don't want the word cheaper. We made it more economical or most economical. We made it a lot more economical for families, where the ideal situation when a family would go solar is they realized an additional $20 to $25 a week wasn't going to take food off their table, and the $2,000 to $3,000 initial investment to get started with the program was worth it because they could shift from a liability to an asset or go from a consumer to a producer. Now, there are the fortunate few that are rich. They pay all the upfront costs. Solar is very expensive. Now, because of certain circumstances and situations, there's some families that could only be involved with this program specifically if we could show you a way that we could exempt you from all the upfront costs and actually keep you at the same amount that you're already paying to the utility company and lock it in where you knew that you would never see an increase again. Now, would you guys most likely fall into category 1, 2, or 3? A lot of the time, I close them like 19 times before I go into the close. There is no close. It's soft closes that led up to that. When I'm crawling in their attic taking pictures, when I'm in their backyard saying, okay, when we do the installation, we're going to get it all done in about 6 hours. It's a pretty easy one because we're going to get all the panels set up right here. By the way, when we do your install, would you want the inverter placed to the left or the right of this meter? Oh yeah, we'd probably have it on that side. Okay, let me mark that down. Crawling into the attic, talking about their structure and asking them these questions. What the heck am I doing in their attic if they didn't want to do this? If they had solar and the question was ripping it off, I would have never been in that attic in the first place. The intent statement of the close is one of the most important parts of the closing process. Because once I go through the numbers and everything, I show them the apples to apples comparison and it's a no-brainer. The only way that they're going to continue paying the utility company is if they wanted to justify a way to pay more for their electricity. It's just not going to happen. Because my attitude, belief, and conviction is helping them think the way that I think and creating the decision that they're making the right decision. Don't fall over here. It's one step away from J. Douglas Edwards falling across on the stage. So we do not have problems. What do we have? Challenges. Good. And then this is one that I hate. When a salesman says, hey, to be honest with you, what does that sound like? No, it's lying. It doesn't sound good, right? It's going to bring up fear. So every single time you can say, let me be blunt or to be blunt. Let me be blunt with you, John. If I go through this process with you, you would do it. 1,000% you would say yes. The hardest part of my job is timing. All I'm going to do is put a line down the middle of a piece of paper. I'm going to show you both situations. I'm going to show you exactly where the panels would go and what your bill would have been last month. All I'm looking for is to show you both options. And if it doesn't make sense, don't do it. Let's look for every reason this does not benefit your situation. And if we find the reason why it's not going to help you, then you would just recommit back to the utility company. However, if we can only identify the reasons why this is going to benefit your situation, the idea is that we are going to submit the applications. We're going to put you into the back of the line, work your way to the front. Then we're going to schedule the installation. After we schedule it, we'll install it. After it's installed, then it's inspected. After it's inspected, we PTO, we turn the system on. The sun goes up, the bills go down. Sun goes up, bills go down. Right? Add these one-liners, add these reasons. The reason I have so many one-liners is because it finds the excuse for these families to say yes. They have the obligatory right to tell me no. They have tactics, which are the excuse to tell me no. I am the decision maker. I am the assistant buyer. Okay, glamour words, commonly known words, uncommonly used to build excitement. Those are the opposite of those words. Commonly known words that are uncommonly used. Okay, what percentage of communication is body language? 55, got it. What percentage is tonality? 38, someone studies. That leads the actual words that we speak? 7, someone's studying. Be dynamic. We need to create, what did I tell you one of the most important things that we need to create when we knock doors? Curiosity, right? 2 of my favorite books, Dr. Seuss, Green Eggs and Ham. I actually carry that as a slick. Sometimes I carry the physical book, and when people are ridiculous, I pull it out, I say, sir, have you ever heard of Dr. Seuss? Go to page 16, sir. He says yes at the end, and he liked it. Literally, a children's book I carry in my binder. And the other one is Curious George. Don't ask me about that book because Curious George is crazy. I'm reading that book the other day. I was going through it, and it's like George jumps off the boat, George does this, and then literally it's a children's book, and George is sitting there on a seat, and it's like after a long day, George was very tired and smoked his pipe and went to bed. Literally shows that in the Curious George book, and I was like, damn, that's what they were teaching us when we were 5, 6 years old. But we be dynamic and we create curiosity. You have to create curiosity. If you don't have curiosity, what are they going to tell you? They're not interested. The reason people are saying they're not interested is because they don't want to buy anything. Typically, the first time I hear not interested, I laugh at them and I go like this, not interested. Yeah, of course, sir, you don't want to buy anything, right? Cool, this is a little bit different. I know you really wanted to buy a vacuum cleaner. Not here to convert your religion, nor am I here to talk politics today. I know it's a heartbreaker, right? I want to be able to lower that sales resistance at the very beginning part of this presentation. So there's steps to being able to qualify somebody. And these are the formula to being able to do this. The first step of qualification is called the needs formula. What do they have now? What do they have now? They have the utility company. Why'd they pick the utility company? They never had a second option. Well, what do they enjoy most about what they have now? What do they enjoy about the utility company? What would they or improve? When you go to get married, you walk up to the altar. What would they alter or improve in considering change? Who other than them is involved in the final D? Decision. And then what is the S? Solution. What do they have now? What do they enjoy most about what they have now? What would they alter? Who's the final decision? And then what is the solution? And that's what we call the needs formula. And that was taught to me by my mentor, Tom Hopkins. You see, Tom was taught by J. Douglas Edwards, who's known as the father of modern day selling. Has anybody in here heard of J. Douglas Edwards or listened to any of his audiobooks? Nobody. It's crazy. It's like the biggest secret. That's like, when I let people listen to those audios, they're like, wow, now I understand how you learned all this stuff. But he recorded this stuff in the 1940s, the 1950s, the 1960s, and then the 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's where, that torch was passed to Tom. Okay, presentation. There's 3 parts of making a good presentation. You tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you've told them. The main reason you have a presentation is to prove the realities or the benefits they're seeking. We control constantly by asking questions. We brag about known objections. We use the glamour words, and we become multilingual. I don't mean speaking different languages. I mean speaking the buyer's talk, right? How they talk is how I want to talk. Keep them involved mentally, physically. If you're involved, interrupted, be patient. If you can't help but an interruption, you want to do something called a brief recap. And then if you read this bottom line, sell the destination, not the plane. What do you think I mean by that? Sell the destination, not the plane. So if I told you, hey, who wants a free trip to Hawaii, who would raise their hand? But what if I told you you had to do a 63-hour flight to get there, and you had 6 layovers? Nobody wants to go on the plane to get there, but people want to hang out at the beach. So what is the destination? The destination, and how I'm creating this curiosity is a do not pay electric bill. Right? It's a negative electric bill. It's eliminating everything you can. Some areas have connection fees. If you have a connection fee, then that's the destination. There's a $30 bill, $15 bill, $5 bill, whatever that might be. The process to get there, I'm taking care of all that. I want to show them the final place that they're going to be once they own their power. What is closing? 3 words. 3 words. 3 words. So closing is creating the decision. That's what our job as solar professionals is to create the decision. You aren't order takers, you aren't tour guides. Your job is to create the decision. People buy emotionally and then they defend that decision with logic. No single close will ever give you a close. Give me another person, favorite boxer. Who? Who? I thought somebody said Jake Paul for a second. All right. Oscar De La Hoya, okay? Question. Does Oscar De La Hoya go into the ring, throw a haymaker, 1 punch, and then wins the fight? What does he do? What does he set up to win the fight? What is this called? Combination. He sets up the combination to be able to create the decision. And it's the same exact thing that we do with sales. We hit them with the jab, the jab, the jab, the jab, with all the reasons that they should say yes. And then you hit them with that final close. And the only way that they would not do it is if they wanted to justify a way to pay more for power. There's this, it's not like we're trying to pull teeth. Like, sir, I'm not a dentist. I've never performed a root canal in my life. I'm not here to pull any teeth. If I go through the process with you, you'll do it. That's a very powerful line right there. If I go through this process with you, you'll do it. The hardest part of my job is timing. I'm just looking for the time when we both have it. So how do we create this emotional climate? I'm going to ask you guys to take a picture of this because of timing, but these are the rules of what I go through when I go to set and close the account and the transaction. So it starts with affirmation. That is the first step of being able to set a deal, is affirmation. This is a done deal. This would be ridiculous for them to tell me no. They're definitely going to do it. There's absolutely no reason why they wouldn't move forward. Who you are, why you're there. Oh, hey sir, my name is Taylor McCarthy. Actually, the reason I'm calling by is a little bit different. I'll pretty much just cut to the chase and give you the short version. I just added that last little part. I used to always say, hey, I'll cut to the chase. Now I say, I'll cut to the chase and give you the short version. People eat that up. They're like, great. What do I have? I have their full attention at that point.
So you made it longer for the short version?
Yeah, I did. I added that one little thing to be able to really command the attention. So then I ask a soft question, which is, I don't know if you know, and that's where I'm going to start talking about my local information. right? If I'm in Florida, for example, you know, this is really one of my go-tos. I have a veto from the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, that literally states Florida should not contribute to the financial crunch that our citizens are experiencing, and he withheld his approval. The problem is the utility companies are undermining this, pretending that it didn't even happen, and they just hit us with another increase. They don't care. They're not from Florida. They're from North Carolina. And people are just sick and tired of it. 1 out of every $4 exits our economy and goes into the Georgia economy because that's where the power is produced. And people are just done. So when I show them that the governor of Florida vetoed a bill that was going to stop the utility company from allowing net metering, and he didn't want to contribute to the financial crunch, that's when I'm going to start turning that pebble into a shoe into a glass shard. Do you remember authorizing a red coupon? It would have been red. It wouldn't have been any other color. It was a red coupon that stated that they were allowed to raise your rate, or they just do that to you. Did you vote on this? Did you okay any forms? You didn't? No, what the heck? Our rate just went up 20%. Create the pain. If there is no pain, there will never be a change, and I do that through telling a story. After I tell the story, I come up with a solution. I go into how they're involved, how they're rewarded, why this makes sense. Reflex, transition, assume, and close. My job's super easy. All I do today are 2 things. One, I show you exactly where the panels would be laid out on the home and what your bill would have been last month if you had already had solar. The design's about 95% of the way complete. I just need to know roughly, like ballpark. Do you know who Bob Barker is? He was like the host of The Price is Right. So if you were on the showcase and you were to just guesstimate what you pay on a month, like average to the utility company, what number do you think that would be? Right? I'm not saying, hey, get your bill. I say roughly, like ballpark, what is it? I softly close them to tell me what the total amount is, and then I say, okay, I just requested a design. That's going to get back to me in about 5 minutes. My engineer, Rufus, is going to get that finished for me. Now your meter, is it on the left or the right? I need to take a quick peek for that. On your utility bill, there's actually a little chart in the top corner. I just need you to grab that from me real quick. I'll be right back. Go look at the bill, come back, look at the bill, and then I transition into the home. If you were a setter, you should be trying to transition into every home. You are going to set a much more stickier appointment getting to the kitchen table and setting the appointment than sitting outside. And the way that I do that is I say, hey, if there's just a small corner of the table that I can put my stuff down, do you need me to take off my shoes? I just need a small corner of a table. What I want to do is show you an apples to apples comparison. You know, when my lead engineer or when, you know, Alex pops by, he's going to fill out this chart with you and show you both situations. I'm a consumer myself, so I would never want to deal with any sort of long, drawn-out process. We don't believe in high pressure, nothing like that. We're just going to show you an apples-to-apples comparison, and then you can decide. At the end of it, we're going to ask you one question. Is there any reason why you would want to continue just donating your money to the utility company? And the only reason that you would is if you wanted to justify a way to go back to renting. It's like if I had a checkbook in my pocket right now, and I was willing to write you a check to buy the home. Like, this question does require some thought, so I'm going to ask you right here. So, question for you. If I took a checkbook out of my pocket right now, and I was willing to write you a check because I wanted to become the owner of this home, you can continue living here, that's fine. You would just need to start writing me a check every single month, and I would become the landlord. Is that something you would do?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that?
That's not what I want.
Okay, and why would I want to do that? Why would I want to become the owner here and have you pay me rent?
Big profit.
And it's the same exact way with the utility company. So hypothetically, same scenario, if you had the solar on the roof and I came here and I tried to convince you to rip the panels off and go back to renting, what would you say?
No thanks.
Exactly. So sometimes people tend to make this a much bigger decision than it really is. At the end of the day, I keep it very simple, and I'm just going to show you both situations. If there's a small corner of a table so I can kind of put my stuff down, I'm going to request a design right now. I should have it back in about 3 minutes. Do you want me to take off my shoes, actually? Transition into the home. These are all the excuses that we find to get the yes. But it comes down to you training. right? You guys are gonna have full access to Knoxstar University, our flagship program. You guys are gonna have full access to a full encyclopedia of Tom Hopkins University. You guys are getting something called a super white label, where you'll be able to actually upload your own content on there. But when I say that this is an encyclopedia, that's what it is. There's workbooks, there's PDFs, there's different sorts of training by myself, by Tom, by the top individuals in solar, the Tyler Segans, the Melissa Ramizes. You know, you'll be able to learn from the cream of the crop. But a lot of you guys will get that login. You'll log in once, and then you'll find something else because you're interested and you're not committed. But then there's going to be others that say, hey, I'm watching 3 to 5 videos of this every single day. I'm going to commit now, and I'm going to figure it out later. Risk is the down payment that we need for success. When we go over the close, and in the last section of setting it up is rebuilding the rapport. That's the part that everybody misses. They don't rebuild the rapport. I need to become Taylor by the time that I leave. If I'm just the solar guy, it's different. I need to become Taylor. I need to humanize myself. Steps to the close, help them relax. Intent statement, brief recap. Can we pay questions? Cost of doing nothing, part 1, showing them the apples to apples. Before I explain to you the reasons why so many families have decided to get involved with this program, I'm going to explain to you what I believe. And I believe that it's better to own something than rent something. I believe if we have the option to have clean energy, that's better than dirty energy. You know, I believe the utility company shouldn't have the right to nickel and dime us. And as I'm doing this, I'm starting to nod my head, and they start to nod their head. RMCSS, roof move, cost service saving, the design, the opposite side, I assume, I seed, I involve, I tell, I authorize the forms, and then I do the post, close, close. So I'm here with Bill. Bill, so hypothetically, I need you to really just answer this however you feel. If the solar was already installed on the roof and you heard your doorbell ring and it was Duke and they tried to convince you to rip the panels off and go back to renting your power, what would you say? I'd pull out an AK-47, I would do this, I would do that, right? And then you want to know the trick that nobody knows that I do? I take that video and I text it to them. And they have that video of them saying in their own words they would never go back to the utility company. And that job's going to stick. So the intent statement is something very important. This is my comfortable get down to business statement. So maybe I'm building the rapport with them, I'm helping them relax, we're talking about Jimmy Johnson and NASCAR or this or that, and then I want to get down to my comfortable get down to business statement. So Gavin, you know, first off, I really want to thank you for the time that you're giving me. I always like to explain to the families that I serve that I like to keep this somewhat exploratory, meaning my job as a solar professional is really just to show you apples to apples both situations. Keep in mind, me nor my company, we don't believe in any sort of high pressure. We don't believe in that. I'm a consumer myself, so I wouldn't want to deal with any long drawn out processes. But over the course of the next 12 to 14 minutes, I want to both look for every reason this does not make sense. And if we can identify the reasons why it's not going to benefit your situation, the idea is you would just retreat back to the utility company and nothing changes. However, if we can only identify the reasons why this is going to benefit your situation, the idea is that we are submitting the applications, we're putting you into the back of the line. Once we get to the front of the line, then we're able to actually set up your installation, then it gets inspected, then we get turned on, and then the sun goes and the bills go. Good. All right, you guys are learning, that's what I like to see. So I'm setting it up at the beginning. One of 3 things is going to happen. 1, they retreat back to the utility company. 2, they redirect, divert, or shift everything into a piggy bank and own their power. Or option C is the situation where they submit everything, we put them into the line, and then the utility company pushes them out of line and tells them they can't do it. Then they're stuck. Nothing I can do. Clarity, repetition, energy, belief, service is an effective sales process. You guys already had that in the workbook. I put it in there twice. Now the #1 most powerful technique in all of selling. Who knows what that is? Nope. 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 I haven't heard it yet. Nope. No. Nope. 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 So I asked this question to probably like 200 people and no one's been able to get it. I think one kid got it, but he cheated because he already heard me say it. But the number one most powerful technique in all of selling is control. You have to take the command position. When you don't, you are losing. You control the presentation to a predetermined decision. When you master these control devices, you are going to command the attention. You are going to command the involvement. You are going to command the flow of your presentation, the potential rejection, and the emotion, which will culminate in a final win-win, and you will find the excuse for them to say yes. That's it. Somebody's going to take the command position. It's either you or it's going to be them. Okay, culmination of an effective sales process. We're going to do this together. The first thing we need to do is develop the right A. Somebody's got this one. What was it? Attitude, got it. We developed the right attitude. And 51% of the sale, what did we say that was? Starts with an E? Enthusiasm, good. We establish R. What is something we need to establish with the families we serve? Rapport. He's getting all the answers. We do that by giving them a sincere C. We compliment, got it. Then we cover our A, it's not ass, we cover our A with intent statement. What do we cover? Back in the day, you used to have, in high school, you had your AGE agenda, got it. Then we Q with the needs formula. What is the Q? Question. Almost, we qualify, got it. We qualify with the needs. Then we give presentation. We address the C's. Concerns, got it. Then we T close. Test close. Then we ask reflex question. Then we fill out our P, our paperwork, and then we ask for the approval. Okay, see, you guys are studying. You guys are learning. You're actually programming this information into your minds. So these guys are the two fastest writers. Watch out. Invite me on your yacht. These kids are 17 years old. When you guys are my age, invite me on the yacht. Don't forget this. They were 1 year old when I started knocking doors. So this is the culmination of an effective sales process, which is a closed sale. First 30 seconds of my presentation, we're creating the curiosity, interesting and unique, mirror and match, being different. Demeanor, this is going to happen with or without you. If you want to be a part of it, great. I don't care whether or not you do it. That's my mindset. Some do, some don't. So what? Someone's waiting. And then I cut to the chase. The reason I'm coming by is like a little bit different. I don't know if you know, we've had a ton of inquiries. The things I think about lead to my words. The words create the emotion creates the feeling creates the judgment, and the judgment creates the decision. And then I've left a bunch of things in your workbook that are specific meat and potatoes. These are one-liners. Probably one of the most important ones I have right here. After I'm done explaining and building the pain, bottom line, sir, you're going to fall into one or two categories. Category one, everything that I just said makes complete and total sense. You know somebody that's benefited from going solar. Or category two, it just sounds way too good to be true, and you're probably sitting there like, wait a second, what's the catch? The catch is simple. Now I've got their full attention. What was the main reason you picked APS? Exactly, you never had a second option. So you guys weren't thinking about like closing out the account. Of course not. So kind of like if you were pulling out to the main road tomorrow and there was a big neon billboard on the side of the road that said that a new utility company opened up in Arizona where you could own your power and no longer be at the mercy of the power company and the rate hikes, that would obviously be something you would be open to, wouldn't it? Tie down. Inverted tie down, wouldn't it make sense? Putting the tie down at the beginning for more warmth. They're America's last monopoly. You never had a second option. Sir, if I go through this process with you, you'll do it. 1000%. Just the hardest part of my job is timing. Right? I'm pretty much going to cut to the chase. You know, I have blank for the electricity. I don't know if you notice everybody putting the little windmills in their backyard or like the solar panels. These people did not win the lottery. They did not take money out of their checking account. We've had a ton of inquiries because families are redirecting, diverting, or shifting away to actually own something rather than rent it. We refer to it as the redirection program. I definitely feel as if people hesitate to pay full price on things they don't need to. I was driving in my car, I heard that on the radio, I pulled over, I had to write it down. It's like I got a new sales line. I definitely feel as if people hesitate to pay full price on things they don't need to. Sir, I think we can both agree if you move, the utility company's not giving you any of that money back, they keep it. Start nodding, they agree with it every time. Just like you own the home and the 2 cars, right? You don't rent your furniture from a rent-a-center, we're giving you the ability to own your power. What was the main reason you 5 years ago. Okay, so I don't know if you moved the furniture in yourself or somebody else had done that for you, but 5 years ago when you moved into the home, typically people call the utility company and say, hey, I'm a new homeowner, can you turn my electric on? At that time, if they would have told you before they turn on the power, they needed to send a representative out to your house, and he was going to lay out 2 options for you. The one on the left would be a never-ending electric bill where they could raise it at any time, or the one on the right would be a fixed amount where you'd own it, and all that money that you've already donated to the utility company would now be in a piggy bank, and once the piggy bank was full, you didn't have a power bill because the sun goes up and there would be no bill. What would you say?
I would take the fixed rate.
I'm helping them think the way that I want them to think, and that's called the circle of persuasion. I'm putting these scenarios into their mind and I'm telling a story, creating curiosity. What I'm really doing is I'm creating imagery in their mind. Same one right here. If you got the power bill and there was a little red coupon that entitled you to pay 30% for your electricity, would you use it? Ultimately, there's no way that I can hurt your situation. You guys will just pay less on a bill you're never going to cancel. Mindset. The things that we think about create the words create the emotion create the feeling creates the judgment, and the judgment creates the decision. Promise, the power of your mind is so incredibly powerful. It's the most powerful computer that there is out there. You know, we just learned from the woman that she took the manuscript from Napoleon Hill that was locked up for 73 years. Her name is Sharon Leckler, and she was the one that wrote the manuscript for Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. And within the first 5 minutes of that book, they talk about the devil occupying 98% of people's minds. 95% of people are non-achievers, only 5% of people actually achieve. So the goal of today's training was to help you think differently. That the things that you think about create the words. Not to get religious, but the devil, what he's doing is he's literally using the blank space to fill up with negativity, with that fear of failure, with that self-doubt. Like I told you, people suffer from self-doubt while others are intimidated by their full potential. You're all in the people business. The harder you work on yourself, the better you are on your jobs. And this is it. This is the formula. When you're frustrated and you let it dwell, you will quit or you will get mad. When you're frustrated and you have creativity, that's what will be what helps you get better. Keep in mind we're running low on time, guys, so if you're not able to fill all these in, I'm going to send it out and your managers and leaders will be able to give you the answers. Frustration plus creativity is how I get better. Next time you're letting frustration dwell, he who angers me controls me. Not going to work. I'm going to be creative in this situation. Some do, some don't, so what? First comes the action, then comes the motivation. He who angers me controls me, and sales are easy. These are the things that we communicate with ourselves to create the decision that we want in our lives. These are the things that motivate us. You will never, the number 1 is the lowest level, number 7 is the highest level. If you go from 7 and work your way back, you're never getting self-acceptance without acceptance of others, without love of family, without security, recognition, achievement, and money. But these are the demotivators. The greatest motivator of all is the need to be comfortable, but you are in a constant conflict between the motivators and the demotivators. You're almost paralyzed. Hey, I want the money, the achievement, the recognitions, the self-acceptance, the love, but I'm paralyzed because the fear of failure and the self-doubt. You're mixed between the danger zone and the comfort zone. And that's what happens. Emotional, stable, successful champions do not withdraw or become hostile. They become creative. Okay? We went over a lot of this with your managers. We're going to skim through it. You guys will be able to look at this, but this is the core tenets of success as far as culture, building a team, alignment within your team. The 3 most important things for me in business: trust, loyalty, longevity. This is how you're going to get promoted. If you're in a position where you want to be promoted, we call it the 7 Ds of promotion. You visualize what you want and you verbalize it. And then this is how you're going to scale your business. This is the formula. You have that deep down desire. You know who you're doing this for. It's about your why or your who. That desire is what's going to create that ardent, burning desire. With discipline comes demonstration, you actually going out and proving the job. When you demonstrate something enough, you actually document it and you have a story. People don't want to be recruited, people want to be impressed. When you're able to document something, then you duplicate, and after you duplicate, you disappear. And that's the 6 Ds of being able to scale your business. So I'm going to ask you a couple of these questions because I have something very special for you guys here shortly. What is the first step of the set? Affirmation. What is the client's greatest enemy? Fear. What are the 5 fundamentals of an effective sales process? Starts with a C, first one. Clarity. The mother of all learning, number 2. Starts with an R. Repetition. The person with the most E makes the most money. Energy. And then the person that has the attitude, B and C. What's the B? Belief. And then the final one is you want to genuinely care, and S, your families. Serve. Okay, good. Those are the 5 fundamentals. Instead of the word seller sold, what should we use? Seller sold, we want to help get them involved. Good. The 6 Ds of scaling your business, we just went over that. You have to start off with having the deep down desire. That desire that you have is going to lead to the next D. Discipline, which will allow you to demonstrate. When you demonstrate, then you're going to be able to document. When you document, then you duplicate. And when you duplicate, you disappear and move to that next level. What is the secret ingredient to building?
Fun.
Fun. Got it. If you're not having fun, it's not worth it. Define success. We are on this one's tough, but I want you guys to memorize it. The continuous journey toward the achievement of predetermined worthwhile goals. Got it right here. See, the people in the front row always know all the answers. List a reason behind the psychology of no. What's a reason why somebody's going to tell us no? Confusion. Yep, that's one. Trust, timing. What about the lingering questions? What about the inadequate explanation of benefits? Good. Instead of the word cheaper, what should we use? Most economical, more economical. See, you are programming this information into your mind, and this is what's going to help change the way that you think, and this is what's going to help you become the best version of yourself. And the more you practice, the more you're going to become perfect, the more that this is going to be a fun game that you play as a professional trick-or-treater. Right, what do? I'm a professional trick-or-treater. Operation Go-Go Gadget Bank Account, here we go. I'm going to become the best version of myself, and we're taking SolarPros to the top this year because this company invests in our success, so we're going to go out and give it everything we have for them. What percentage of communication is body language? 55. Divide the needs formula. What do they have now? What do they enjoy? What would they alter? Who's the decision maker? And what is the final solution? Closing, what were those 3 words? Closing equals creating the decision. Got it. And what is the only objection that we face? Trust. It's like having a cell phone with no service. All you can really do is play games. So this was the quiz, and I want to share with you guys something very special. I forgot to tell you this one, but in closing, the most important component is composure. A lot of people don't have composure during certain situations of the actual close. But this is what I wanted to share with you guys. We have made SolarPros the first company that we've made you guys all the materials completely white labeled, and you guys will be receiving these in the next few days. So they're already in production. And let me ask you, if you guys all had a set of SolarPros specialized slicks, how do you feel about that? Do you think you would sell more? All right, so here's my challenge to you. In January, 221 sales professionals produced at least 1 sale. After getting these slicks, we got to bring that up to 500, 600, 1,000. Because if thousands of you can actually produce, then it's going to create the confidence you need. Here's your first slick. Option A, option B, option C. If we cannot utilize the amount you give to the utility company to fund the project, we don't pick the home. Option C is a situation where they try to get approved and the utility company denies them. Second slick, option A, mercy of the power company. Option B, energy independence. Notice the fine print. If your current utility denies your application, you are stuck with option A. Now this is how we can create the imagery and curiosity. Slick number 3, 6 main questions. What happens to my roof? What if we move? How much does it cost? Who maintains it? When do we start saving money? Who owns it? What am I doing? I'm bringing up the lingering questions to avoid the resistance. Next slick, old stuff, new stuff. Ever since they introduced the new technology from the old stuff to the new stuff, that's when I'm handing them this paper. Notice the fine print again. Can we pay questions? In the past 5 years, has there been a specific product or service that has led you to be vocal about your satisfaction? Peace of mind, talking about having a 0% escalator. Hypothetically, if I pulled the checkbook out of my pocket and tried to convince you back to renting, what would you say? The 10 reasons that people go solar. This is the roadmap, the agenda, the questions. Can we pay? What we believe, the major questions, the design, the utility application, schedule, and install. Create a roadmap. I love this one. So this is showing them what their bill would be over time if there was no increases. Have you guys ever seen electric bills over $250? Yeah. So give me an example. So roughly like ballpark, what does the electric bill come to like ballpark?
300.
300, is that monthly or quarterly? Monthly? Okay, the only reason that I question that is because $300 isn't even on my chart, sir. It only goes up to $250. They start looking at it, they're like, what? 300? Yeah, it only goes up to $250. $300 bucks, what are you growing in there, sir? No, don't say that. That's assuming a 0% escalator. 20-year price increases. Notice how it says solar is guaranteed to be no more than 2.9%. I usually tell them it's a 2.9% escalator on the loan, and I get them to agree with that. And then I say, you are going to answer yes to the next question you did not know I was going to ask you. You're on a fixed income, right? Yes. Okay, we're going to actually make that a 0% escalator. Just keep it between me, you, and the lampshade. Right? They love that. Really, if I'm in an early market that doesn't have much solar, those are the innovators and the early adopters. Maybe if I'm in San Diego, I'm talking about the late majority, but as we know, solar is a very new product. Cost of doing nothing, apples to apples comparison. Hey, all I'm going to do is I'm going to show you an apples to apples comparison. States exactly how much the rates have increased over time in each state. See, it's not just me telling them, it's me showing them how much money they could save over time. In Arizona, it's $64,000. It's money they're going to either donate to the utility company or money they're going to pay themselves. A do not pay electric bill. Sell the destination, not the plane. Hey, we've had a ton of inquiries because families have been receiving the electric statements that state do not pay. Ridiculous fees and surcharges. They're literally coming up with all these fees to nickel and dime us, and people are sick and tired of it. We're putting together somewhat of a petition. We refer to it as the redirection program. All the families that put up the windmills, the solar, they did not win the lottery. 86-point inspection checklist. When you talk about your company and your installer, people care about having the finest quality, the best service, and the best pricing. Don't just sell on price, sell on quality, and sell on service, sell on your company. You know, hey, one of the best parts about what we do, and then you can break it down, we do something called an 86-point inspection checklist. It's not just about installing the system, it's about turning the system on. Utility versus solar. Notice how solar, it shows the cost is more. I did that on purpose because I'll use the triplicative choice clause. The ideal situation when a family goes solar is they're willing to invest $20 to $25 additional a week because they realize that's not going to take food off their table, and if they can shift a liability to an asset, they realize it's worth it. There are the fortunate few that are rich and pay for all the upfront costs. Because of certain circumstances and situations, there's some families that could only be involved if we were to exempt them from those upfront costs and keep them at the same amount they're already in. Now, which one of those three categories are you? I'm going to be able to use this to my benefit. And that breaks down those slides, which are all being laminated for you guys today. So, you know, give it up to Josh and your leaders because they could have had anyone come up on stage here. And, you know, I'm truly grateful because, you know, the leaders put their trust and confidence in me. And, you know, like I told you, my goal is to always give people way more than they expect. That's one of my biggest things. And that was taught to me by my mentor, Tom Hopkins. You know, to always give people way more than they expect. Why do I give so much? Why should you give so much? To give people way more than they expect. When you guys pass away, you're not taking anything with you. That's why I wrote in there, currency is relationships. I'm truly grateful, and I brought you guys a little bit of a special gift today. So, how many of you guys are going to use those slicks every single day? How many of you guys feel like that will increase yourself and your team's sales?
Yes.
Okay. Raise your hand if you're interested. Raise your hand if you're committed. Raise your hand if you're the warning. Raise your hand if you're the example. Raise your hand if you are the spectator. Raise your hand if you are the participant. All right, you guys feel like that was a pretty cool gift? I'm going to give you guys a better one right now. Without further ado, I would like to introduce my mentor, the greatest sales trainer of all time, the best to ever do it, for a Q&A. Everyone give it up for Mr. Tom Hopkins. Everyone on their feet. Hey, do you have the mic? Do you have a chair for him too? All right, perfect.
Unbelievable. Well, this is so nice. You have no idea. Thank you. Is it on now?
Good to go, yeah. So
Anyway, you have no idea.
you're talking on this one, yeah?
You have no idea what it's like to stand in the back of a room and watch somebody who, well, 15 years ago, young 18-year-old kid came to my seminar. What's that? Oh my God. That's a first. Don't you run into me. Anyway, I just can't tell you what it's like to have spent 40 years every week on a plane around the world training people that get paid if someone says yes to the benefits of what they do. And I just can't tell you how proud I am of Taylor and how fortunate you are. So many companies over the last 40 years, I go into the company and they hire me to teach their people how to close sales. And so many companies don't have a trainer that can really teach them. And one of the reasons is they never went out in the street. They didn't knock the doors. And that's why, Knockstar and of course, Taylor to me is one of the biggest things that's ever happened in my life. Because as I wind down my life of getting on a plane every week somewhere in the world, to have somebody with the talent to take my teaching, and I sit back there and listen, and I hear the phraseology, the needs, the now, enjoy, alter, decision maker, solution, and how he has just internalized it and now teaches it. If there is a blessing, it's to have someone like him to help teach and show you where you can go. And I so hope, like I saw some of you taking notes, others weren't, but it's very important that you realize that what he teaches, you've got to internalize. I'll guarantee you, we've tested, I've had 5 million people come to my seminars in the last 40 years. And we've tested them. We've had a quiz. And many of them didn't get it after one time. You have to listen to it, hear it. It's kind of like, I know he's invested in the records of my mentor, Doug Edwards, who taught me. And you've got to listen to him, even though what he teaches is many years old. It's still fundamentally sound. And fundamentals don't change. Culture can change, things can be different in these times, but the fundamentals of the art of selling, the art of leading a person to the decision, those things will never change. I mean, it's fundamentally sound. Now, you two, get a piece of paper. You got a piece of paper, okay? Come up here. And you too. Now what I want you to do is right here, write down one of the 52 cards in a deck of cards, but don't make it an ace.
Okay.
So write it down, don't let him see it. Now, what's your name?
Dillinger?
Dillinger, you've played cards, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yes? If I'm not mistaken, there's 52 in the deck, isn't that right?
Yes.
And there's basically two colors, red or black. Would you name red or black?
Yes.
Would you name red or black?
Oh yeah, red.
That's right. On the red, we have two types. We have hearts or diamonds. Would you name hearts or diamonds?
Diamonds.
And that would leave you with the hearts, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Now on the hearts, we have two types. We have face cards or number. Would you name the face or the numbers?
Face.
And that'd leave you with the numbers, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Now in the numbers, we have two types. We have odd or even. Would you name the odd or even?
Even.
That's right. Now in the even, we have two types. We have low, 2, 4, 6, or high, 8, 10. Would you name low or high?
Low.
That's right. The 2 or 4 or 6 of hearts. Would you name the 2, 4, or 6 of hearts?
4.
And that'd leave you with the 2 or 6, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Would you name the 2 or 6 of hearts?
2.
I think you found it. See, we don't believe in pushing.
Yeah.
We want to lead people. What is that?
2 of hearts.
2 of hearts. Didn't he do good? Give him a nice hand.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. Thank you. Now, what I just did was what you must learn to do. The art of asking, not telling. You must be a master asker if you're going to make a lot of money. And the average person in sales wants to talk and tell. The great ones ask and listen, because you're only learning what you need to know. when you ask and you don't tell. So you must say to yourself, I'm going to be a master asker. You know, I stand back there. I watch Taylor. He goes to tie down. Isn't it, doesn't it, wasn't it, couldn't it, wouldn't it, shouldn't it, can't you, won't you? That was one, wasn't it? We did it again, didn't we? You can catch on with this, can't you? You want to get more yeses, don't you? And investing with SolarPros makes a lot of sense, don't you agree? See, you've got to master the questions. Would you like me to come by at 6 or at 8 tonight? Be more convenient. Always give them alternates. We can look for locating it here or here. Which would you think would be best? Make them a total involved part of it. And if you do, you'll get them emotionally involved, you'll get them excited, and you will make lots of money. I can't tell you how thrilled I am, as I've already mentioned with Taylor, but to have a chance to help people do what you do. The world desperately needs the solar. They desperately need to get out of utility companies. And so what you do is good. And I think the reason I sold more homes than anyone's ever sold in the United States when I was in real estate is because I had a burning belief that you have to own a home. You can't rent. And I could tell you stories. Gosh, I had a seminar in San Francisco a couple years ago. And at my breaks, I autograph my books. That's kind of one of the things you do when you write. I've written 18 books. And I'm writing the autographs, and suddenly a man comes up and he has no book. And I said to him, I said, sir, did you want me to autograph a book? He says, Tom, I had that years ago. I just heard you were coming here to San Francisco to do a seminar, and I told my wife I've got to go and thank Tom. And I said, thank me? He goes, yeah, in 1964, you weren't born, most of you. He said, I walked into your real estate office to rent a home. My wife and I had very little money. We didn't think we could buy. We walked into your office, and we said, we want to rent a home. I said, come back to my desk. And you took us back to your desk. And then you held up this hand. I said, let me ask you two a question. If I had a home here that you could rent, pay a landlord, give him the tax benefits, the appreciation, the value increase, I had this home. Or I had this home, which you could own, have the tax benefits, the equity increase, the beautiful ownership feelings, if you could have either one. And money wasn't an object. Which would you choose? And we, of course, took this home. I came today because we paid $18,900 for that home. And we just sold it for $430,000. It is the main thing of our retirement because you would not let us say no. And I hope you realize that. SolarPros have to love no's and learn to turn them into yeses. Don't you agree? Yeah. And that's the key, isn't it? Getting that building momentum of yeses. And I so hope you'll just take what Taylor's teaching. I stand back there and I go, that's so fundamentally sound. If people will literally say, I must be. And you know what's amazing? I'll tell you a little story. I had just gotten into training, and this was before there was really anything called video. That's, I know, old. But this company came to me and said, we want to make a video of you. I said, well, what's that? Well, it's a motion picture. And we're going to Universal Studios in Hollywood and film you. And of course, you know, I'm flattered. I figure, why not? I had no idea what was going on. So I go to Hollywood, Universal Studio, and I got there a day early. So I decided that I would just kind of walk around, see what was happening. And I walked into this studio next to our studio, and there was a man and a woman. She was in just kind of jeans and a blouse, and he was in jeans and a t-shirt. And they're walking around, hand me one of those. They're walking around reading these scripts to each other. He'd read the script to her, she'd read it to him, and back and forth, and I'm watching this. The next day, I go back to that room, and there they are in their beautiful outfits. He's all dressed up, and she's in a beautiful outfit. And they're walking in the studio, reading their script. They'd set the script down, then they would deliver it. And I watched this and I said, here are people that make millions of dollars a year willing to take a printed script and rehearse it and memorize it. And that's what Taylor did with my training. He got my CDs, my DVDs as they came out, and just listened and listened and rehearsed and rehearsed. And when you come to a thing like this, and I was so happy to hear that it's being recorded, you can go over it and over it and over it till it becomes a natural part of you. Because that's really one of the keys. It's got to be sincere. It's got to have empathy. They have to feel that you care more about them than putting solar on their property. And that's where the love comes in. And I can't tell you what it was like in my life. Every year I had a party for everyone that bought a home or sold a home with me. And the last year before I retired from real estate, I had 600 folks come to our party. And it was such a great feeling because some of these homes, the greatest net worth they have today is because I closed the sale. They'd come in wanting to rent, and 2 hours later I'd get a check. And that's the way you have to feel about what you do. You gotta love and believe what you do. How many of you will raise your hands and say, I love what I do and believe in what I do? Let me see them. Oh, kind of slow, some of you. You gotta get excited. You have to walk with excitement and belief. And people cannot say no to someone who's on fire, that really says, I cannot leave this property without helping them say yes, without helping them take advantage of this wonderful process. And you guys are all very fortunate because you have found something. It's one of the hottest things happening. People are saying, we're sick of utility companies. We're sick of them upping it like crazy, up ours, and we're not gonna have it anymore. You gotta burn, you gotta burn. And if you do, you'll not only make a lot of money, which, hey, money is fine, but that's really not what people that love what they do work for. And in my life today, I'm retiring this year, 40 years on a plane every week, and 5 million people at my seminar, it's just time. But I've had a blast, and Taylor is an example of what I'm so thrilled about, because he is going to be able to, I think, take and not only teach your industry, but I see in him such potential. And I could feel, I stood in the back and a couple of your people didn't even really know who I was. And they'd come up, they'd go, yeah, he's really great. I said, well, my heart is overwhelmed. My emotions are so high on this young dynamite guy. So you're fortunate. God has blessed you to find something you love and a company that believes in why you need to be better at what you do. Thanks for letting me spend a few minutes with you. God bless all of you. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
You want to take a couple of questions real quick?
Yes, yes. Okay, go ahead.
All right, everybody give it up for Tom. And, this is just to show you, the type of individual, when it talks about, the greatest of all time, up there with the Zig Ziglars, the J. Douglas Edwards, and, being able to pass on the torch and, being able to fill some pretty big shoes as you guys start training on the university. You're going to understand that there's levels to the game and there's ways that we can get better. So it's very rare that you can have an individual, with Tom's prestige up here, and a lot of the time, you can't ask questions. So we're going to give you the ability to ask a couple questions to Tom. So we have Kenny running with the mic. By a show of hands, there's a question right here. Kenny goes up first. We're going to take about 5 total questions, and then we're going to wrap up this part of the training. So
my question is, what really gets you driven, and what's your why, and how you got so focused into your career that nothing else mattered?
Very good question. Why did I get on fire? We are having defining moments of success in our lives. And my mom and dad were old-fashioned. They were wonderful parents, but they had a total belief that if you didn't have a college education, you probably would never be successful. So I went to college for 3 months, and I quit. And I came home, and my dad walked in. He said, "Well, what are you doing home?" I says, "Dad, I made a decision today. The academic setting, college is not for me, and I'm quitting." Now, I had never seen my father cry. Tears filled his eyes. He says, "Son, I'll always love you because you are my son. Even though now, based on your decision to quit college, I know you will never amount to anything." That was a defining moment in my life. Some of you that are doing well, someone said or did something that suddenly you had a burning desire to prove what you could do. And I went in my bedroom and I sat down on the bed, depressed, thinking, God, what am I going to do with my life? That night, my Uncle Don, came to dinner. And I'm there sulking in my bedroom. And he walks in, he says, "Tom, tell me this is not true. You're not going to college?" I said, "Uncle Don, it's not for me. I hate it. I'm not going to go to college." He says, "What are you going to do with your life?" I said, "Uncle Don, I have no idea." He says, "Well, I am general manager of a huge steel company," which he was, here in LA, "and we're building Dodger Stadium, and we need iron workers." Now, you that aren't aware of it, an iron worker is the person that carries the steel into concrete buildings, because concrete has no tensile strength without reinforcing rebar. Some of you seen a swimming pool built where they put these bars in before they pour the concrete. That's a number 4 bar. In Dodger Stadium, the big concrete building has number 11 bars. Now, number 11 bars is 1 3/8 in diameter. They're cut in 60-foot lengths. They weigh 208 pounds. The only way they get from the dirt off the truck to the building is men like animals carry them. Now, I was the youngest man on the job, and they knew I was the nephew of the general manager. So they let me have the chance to carry more steel. A year I did that. I was 6'2" when I started, and you can see what happened. I carried it for a year, and then I was sitting in my home with my father, and my uncle came over, another uncle, and he said, you know, I am manager of a real estate office. And you know, Tom, you got a nice way with people. Why don't you get a real estate license? You're almost 19 now. I said, oh, Uncle Don, I'd have to pass an exam, and I'm not that smart. He says, give it a try. Well, sure enough, I failed my stupid real estate exam 3 times. The 4th time I passed. Then I had a challenge, though. See, we all go through challenges. Number 1, I didn't have a car. I only had a motorcycle, which is very difficult to sell real estate without a car. Number 2, I had really had no dress clothes, didn't have a suit. So I really had a lot going against me. But luckily, I was so fortunate. Here again, please do me a favor. Do what I did. I found a mentor. I found the highest income person in California selling homes. And I went to her. Rose Lane was her name. Told her I was just a young kid, just got my license. And God bless her, and I do. She let me ride in the car as she showed homes. She let me go on listing appointments till I learned what to say to people. And thanks to her, all of a sudden, 4.5 months, and all of a sudden I started making sales. And I worked my butt off. Please do me a favor and realize if you'll give 2 to 3 years of total discipline, fanatical activity, the productivity will come to you. And that's what I did. 2.5 to 3 years, I busted my back. First one in the office, last one to leave, 7 days a week for 3 years. Fanatical? Yeah. But I had something to prove. And I was going to show that I could become a success. And it was so funny how all of a sudden things started happening. And this is my 4th year. My manager calls me in the office. It's November 15th. And he says, Tom, I called you in because I don't know if you're aware of what you're doing. I says, I know what I'm doing. I'm having a blast. I'm making more money than I dreamed of. He says, yeah, but I also don't know if you know this, but I've looked at the records and you are averaging 1 home sale a day, which has never been done in the history of real estate. And he said, if you do this, by the end of the year, and we can honestly, and this company was huge. It was the largest real estate company in California at that time. This is before Century 21. They weren't even in existence. Red carpet was not even in existence. He says, if you sell 365 homes, and we can honestly put that in the paper, your life will never be the same. Well, I busted my butt, and sure enough, turned in 365 home sales, and they started putting me in the paper. And of course, the manager of the company, he was one of these guys that said, get Tom out there. He's 23, just turning 23, and no one's ever sold 365 homes in a year. Get him out there and let him teach. And that's when I started teaching and wrote my first book, which changed my life. There's nothing greater than showing people ideas, techniques, strategies to have a better fulfilled life, to not only make more money, which is wonderful. Wealth is wonderful, but it's great to see people prosper and grow, fulfill their potential, increase their self-image, overcome the self-doubts, the fear of failure, all the things that Taylor so beautifully covered with you in his time with you. But I guess the main thing I want to say is you'll go through periods in your life when you'll hit a wall. Life is a cycle. You'll have periods where everything you touch turns to gold. Then a period where everything you touch turns to something other than gold. And that's just the way the life cycles are. You have to stay focused, keep your attitude, get your short-term and long-term goals in writing, take advantage of what this company can offer you. And it's obvious to have what you're hearing today here. They do want you to succeed and fulfill your potential, because if you do that, they will achieve theirs as well. So again, any other questions real quick? We have time for a couple. Anybody have a question? Yes, sir.
I'd like to start off first by saying you're amazing. My first question is, how do you remove yourself from negative people, especially family?
I want you to all play a game with me. I call it the zip zip. I'm now in my positive shell game. And it's a game you play every morning. You literally say, you get in front of the mirror, and you know you're going to be hit with negativity. That's life. Right now, there's so much negativity in the news, in the world, as far as the conflicts, a lot of stuff that we got to block our minds from. But play the game. Grab the zipper and go zip, zip. I'm now in my positive shell. Let's all do it. Left hand first. Ready? Zip. Right hand. Zip. I'm now in my positive shell. And then you do that every morning. And if you run into someone negative or somebody says things negative, have fun. Zip, zip, I'm now in my positive shell. And you just keep blocking all the negativity. And life is a bunch of games like this to keep our attitude, to stay excited. Anybody else got a question? Thanks for that one, sir.
When you were selling real estate and you were supposed to be selling one house a day, when you're in that success, did you find it difficult to almost feel like there was too much expectation, or you had some type of, like, the fear of losing the success? How were you able to stay in that mental state? I mean, 'cause you're so authentic with how you're talking about it. You're saying it was so much fun, but a lot of times the work is not fun and it's a grind. So how were you able to stay at such a high level with what you were doing?
Well, I come back to the fact I had something to prove to my father, to a lot of people who thought I couldn't do anything. And I also had a burning love for real estate. I mean, I really did. It was almost like I was on fire. And there were so many people that wanted to not buy a home. They were scared to death, rent a home, and I'd overcome their objections and take their no's into a yes, and get them to say yes to a property. And then to hear how the home's appreciated. And as I mentioned, that one person, I have people that have come up to me and say, you know, we bought a home in the late 60s, because I sold real estate from 64 to right around 71. And then I retired from real estate and started just doing seminars. But I really feel one of the main things that happened was I fell in love. And I think you have to really love what you do. I mean, I could not, people have said to me, Tom, I've read your books, I've heard all your CDs. What do you think one of the keys is? I said, I loved what I did. It wasn't a job. I have not worked for years. I love the 8 years approximately selling homes. Of course, almost 40 years every week on a seminar tour somewhere. And so I think you gotta love what you do. And if you don't really love what you do, find something else, because life is too short to not be extremely happy with what you do. And that's why your environment I can sense. And the ability to be taught, you're very fortunate. I'm sure you all realize that. Okay? We have another question?
One more question, Ed, right here, and then we're going to close it out. So we'll do one more question right here.
Yeah, now that you're retired at that phase, just like an NFL athlete, when they retire, a lot of them get like depressed because they kind of lost their identity on what they're going to do when they're retired. What's kind of your goal and game plan now?
That's such a great question, because, and I have the most wonderful wife, and Michelle, and she's going through this same thing, because she has watched me, again, almost every week, fly somewhere in the world, get on stage, talk to thousands of people, and now, of course, I don't. And it's been a challenge, I'll level with you. When you have worked at a pace and suddenly you don't have to, you have to really work at it. And thank goodness my wife plays golf, and I love golf. I'm a member of numerous courses. And so the golf is helping, but you're right on. When you have run at a pace and you stop, you have to work at filling the hours, because it's not easy to have such a change. But I'm getting better at it. I wish Michelle was here, because she is just such a great wife, and she's helping me get out of the doldrums of not getting up every morning and flying or going somewhere. And so she's a blessing. I hope you have a spouse that's a blessing. And if not, I hope you find one, because it is a blessing when you got the right one. Don't you agree? Hey! All right, one more question. Anyone? Anyone?
One right here in the back.
There's a really popular sales movie called Wolf of Wall Street. There's a scene in the movie where the top salesperson asks another one on his team to sell him a pen. And I was just curious if you could sell me a pen.
Well, first of all, I'd have to qualify. I'd have to kind of find out what you have now as to your penmanship. And I'd like to have you tell me about what you're doing and what you've enjoyed about getting that pen. And I would just ask you lots of questions. You almost have to be like a detective who just asks lots of questions, and people start opening up. But that's really what I would do if I was going to sell you a pen. I said I had a challenge finding a writing instrument that really satisfied my needs and performed to where when I sent a letter to folks, they would really be impressed because of the way I wrote, but also the quality of the penmanship. Because I think people like to see you have something that's better than average. Don't you agree?
I absolutely agree.
All right, great. Hey, you guys, thanks for letting me spend a few minutes with you. Thank you. Thanks, buddy.
To be here, and we are in the presence of greatness. So let's give it up one more time.
No, thank you.